Okay, today I'm predicting the Philadelphia Eagles record prediction. So looking at their roster definitely looks good. Pretty similar to last year other than a few pieces, but their offense skill position players look really good. They brought in Saquon, they still have Smith, they still have AJ Brown. I am slightly concerned about their interior offensive line, especially losing Chelsea. That's definitely something to look at. Their defense, they brought in new defensive coordinator Vic Fangio. He had an okay year last year with the Dolphins, but their defensive line is pretty strong. Even with Cox retiring, they still have Carter, they still have Davis. They brought in Huff to replace Reddick. But it's their linebacker. I'm still very concerned about their linebackers, like Nolan Smith, Nakobe Dean, Devin White. They're really young, inexperienced guys that really haven't had that much success. Their secondary, they drafted a couple of new rookies. Obviously, you got Slay. I expect their defense secondary to do better than they did late last year. Um, but I expect the Eagles to do pretty good this year. So you have your first game versus the Packers in Brazil on Friday night. This one's gonna be a really good game. Packers, they have a very young team. Jordan Love, Jaden Reed. Their defense is well established, haven't really played up to their potential for Packers defense, and I expect the Eagles. I think Jalen Hurts will get the job done. The Eagles have more of a veteran presence on their roster, so I'm giving it to the Eagles in the first week. Then week two versus the Falcons. I'm not sure how Kirk Cousins gonna do. I think he might struggle versus that um, pass rush, the Eagles pass rush. I'm still slightly concerned about that Falcons offensive line. And I think that Falcons offense will get the job done, so I'm taking the Eagles here. Yeah, week three versus the Saints. To me, definitely a trap game for the Eagles. Saints, they're not better than the Eagles, but their defense can definitely cause problems. But I don't expect the Eagles to fall into that trap. Um, I'm not a fan of that Saints offense. I think that Eagles defense should dominate that Saints offense. I'm taking the Eagles here. Then you have week four versus the Buccaneers. I expect the Eagles to avenge that wild card loss against the Bucks. That I don't think that Bucks defense is really any good. I think that Eagles defense should do just enough versus the Bucks offense that the Eagles will get the win. And then you have them versus the Browns. Eagles are coming off a bye and they have home field advantage, so a big advantage for the Eagles right off the bat. Um, both these teams are really, really good. Browns have a really good defense, but their defense do struggle a little bit on the road, so I expect that um, Eagles offense to get the job done. And I don't really know what to expect from Deshaun Watson, but I don't expect him to play like he did back in 2020 or 2019, so I'm taking the Eagles here. Week 7 versus the Giants. It is a divisional game, so hard to predict. The Giants did play the Eagles good last year. They played them competitively. But Giants, to me, they just aren't that good of a team. I think the Eagles defense can shut down Daniel Jones. So I'm going to take the Eagles here. Then you have week 8 versus the Bengals. Bengals, with Joe Burrow returning, it's near the midseason. He should start heating up. Um, Burrow should be off that early season slump. Bengals defense, okay, good defense. I don't expect them to stop the Eagles' offense, but I do expect them to slow them down. But I think Joe Burrow started heating up this game, so I'm going to take the Bengals here, especially with home field. Then week 9 versus the Jaguars. Um, Jaguars, I really don't expect much from the Jaguars. Their team isn't bad, but to me, they're just lacking some superstar power, so I'm going to take the Eagles here. Then you have week 10 versus the Cowboys. Cowboys and Eagles always play each other tough. I expect them to split. Both these teams are really talented, but like I said, I expect them to split. So I have the Cowboys taking the first game. Then you have them versus the Commanders. Commanders also play the Eagles very tough. Their defense is bad. The Commanders' defense is really bad, but their offense can be good at times. But it's a Thursday nighter with home field advantage for the Eagles, so I'm taking the Eagles here. Then you have them versus the Rams. Rams another tough team, especially with home field advantage for the Rams. Um, I'm not sure if that Eagles defense can stop Matthew Stafford or Kyron Williams. I'm worried about the Eagles linebacker stopping Kyron Williams, and that Rams defense should do just enough. So I'm taking the Rams here. The Week 13 versus um, the Ravens. Ravens to me they're just the better team than the Eagles. I expect their Ravens defense to stop that Eagles offense, and that Ravens offense should do just enough to stress out those Eagles linebackers. So I'm taking the Ravens here. Then week 14 versus the Panthers. Panthers are still rebuilding of a team, so I'm taking the Eagles. Then you have week 15 versus the Steelers. Definitely a trap game for the Eagles. But Steelers defense can definitely cause problems, but I don't expect that Steelers offense to do much, so I'm taking the Eagles here. Then week 16 versus the Commanders. Like I said, the Commanders play the Eagles tough, and I do expect the Commanders to actually steal a game from the Eagles, so I'm taking the Commanders here. Then you have week 17 versus the Cowboys. Like I said, versus the earlier game versus the Cowboys. Cowboys play the Eagles very tough, and I expect them to split. But since I have the Cowboys winning the first game, I'm gonna have the Eagles. Week 18 versus the Giants. I definitely expect the Giants. Like I said, they play the Eagles pretty tough. And I think that defense, like I said, the Giants defense will steal a game from the Eagles. Last year they played them really tough. They split with the Eagles last year, and I think Daniel Jones's leg will do just enough to split with the Eagles this year, so I'm taking the Giants with an upset. So Indiana have the Eagles going 11-6, 3-2 in the division, 8-1 at home, and 3-5 away.